We'll be out of here soon.
Okay, if we're ready. I'd like to call this government operations meeting to order at 9:46. Roll call, please.
Commissioner Nolden,
Present.
Commissioner Winfrey,
Here.
Commissioner Ellenberg,
Here.
Commissioner Clemens,
Present.
Commissioner Avery,
Present.
Commissioner Shoemaker,
Present.
Commissioner Davis,
Present.
Commissioner Newman is absent, Commissioner Peppin.
Here.
We do have a quorum.
Okay, moving on down to minutes from government operations, June 12th. Move it. It's been moved. Support. And supported. Do we have any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. This time is set aside for public comments. Public comments once, twice, 3 times. No communication, no old business, under new business, animal control. Approval of donation from Alley Challenge in the amount of $10,000.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Do we have any discussion on this?
Thank you.
All I can say is great job. Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Approval of the postponed amendment from 2021-2022 appropriation resolution increasing expenditures in amount of $35,000. Move it.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Do we have any discussion? Yes.
I just had a question whether they knew,
Jay, come on up.
morning. Can you just go a little more in depth into where the expenditures, came from?
The expenditures that we're accounting for is the new ventilation system. A lot of this we probably couldn't have forecast. It changes, the HVAC system has to have up to almost $10,000 in filtration systems, and that depends on the amount of animals we bring in and everything that goes on outside with the pollen and such. There's an increase in inspections for the fire prevention system and the annual plumbing inspection backflow preventers that we have had to place in the units, which is required by the state. So, and then the ice melt for the sidewalks. I mean, increased size in the building. This is something I think that we're just finding out for the first year.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chair, if I may ask one more question. Is this ventilation system in the new portion of the building?
Yes, it's throughout the whole building.
Okay. Thank you. This is just, once again, hired an architect, people that are experts. Am I wrong?
Yeah, so the building, we almost doubled the size of the building. So we didn't have a good understanding of what that cost was going to be for that new building until we got into the operations for a full year.
He's talking ventilation, though.
Right, so the type of system that we put in has filters in almost every area of the building, and that's why when you go into that building, it doesn't stink like the former building did.
No, I understand that, but this is, so I understand this is only for filters?
Right. So we didn't know what that cost was going to be until we actually got into it and we're operating at the facility for a full year.
So, like I said, it's only that increase was mostly for filters as far as
It's
there's no
filters and then
mechanical?
maintenance on that system as well.
Okay,
Yep.
so maintenance.
Yep. Well, and I consider filters maintenance sometimes they're changing them every other week on some of those areas.
Well, I'd have to imagine you don't want staff breathing. I'm just trying to
Because of the
understand,
dander and stuff that comes up.
was there anything mechanical that wasn't done or added on or changed?
No, nothing mechanical. There's
So it's
just
just-
the inspections, the filtration systems, the fire inspection system, all those things have to be checked. We did have the back preventers that were placed onto the hoses up top that had to be placed on there, and those have to be inspected every year per the state for our licensing and such. So these are all maintenance costs, I think, that come along with the increased size of the building.
Okay. Just
What?
what, and we didn't calculate for, that was going to increase at all, or when?
Yeah,
they
so
did
I
the
don't know
building?
how that calculation happened because the design of the building really kind of took place prior to me being here. But I know that, we didn't have a full understanding of what to expect on that total cost until we were actually in it and operating it.
I just have one other. So the residents know this is figured in your budget?
Pardon me?
This is figured in your budget?
Yes.
in the
this will
millage.
Come out of our millage.
That's what I'm saying, but yeah, but
Yes.
it's figured in his budget, so I just wanted to say what a good job you guys are doing out there. I'm super proud, every time I go out there, the people seem to be working together with the volunteers, and I think it's just, I think it's your staff is doing a wonderful job, and it's greatly appreciated. And I'm
Thank you.
sure
We have
that,
a
I'm
lot of
sure the
great-
animals appreciate it too, so thank
We
you.
have a lot of great employees and volunteers that are working together, so.
I have a question.
Commissioner Ellenberg.
Yes, I was going through the finance and looking through the consumer's bill and stuff like that. So is there 2 furnaces there or just the one? And, what's the average? Do we have like the thermostats that automatically are turned down at night?
Yeah, those are monitored, I guess, down here. Maintenance has a monitoring system. We don't actually control the temperature at the facility. That's all controlled, but there's several units up on top for heating and cooling. I've yet to go up on the roof and look at them, but I know there's quite a few big Tran units up there that, that require
Is
a
there a
lot of
big
care.
comparison from the old building to the new building? Because I'm sure we had upgraded the efficiency, heating efficiency.
Oh, yeah, so.
Yeah, Jay wasn't there before, so a big difference on these new ones is that we're recirculating the air or replacing the air on, X amount of times per hour, 12 or 13 times per hour. And that's an increased cost because you're heating that, outdoor air as you're bringing that in. And part of the reason that we went with that type of system was because of that smell. If you were out there before, it was not a pleasant place to be. Yeah.
Well, and the
it's
health of the
pungent, that's a
animals
good
too,
way
for
it.
the, for what they're breathing, so.
Right,
It's very
so-
important to circulate that air.
So that allowed us to isolate certain wards within that facility, so that if you do get a sick dog or a group of sick dogs, instead of infecting the entire facility, because the way it was before, the air just, moved within the facility, now we're able to isolate that and take better care of the animals that way as well. But
Okay,
there's a
so-
cost associated with that.
And with energy going up, because, the bill was over $5,000. So being the fact that, hopefully in the future, because it's not going to go down, that you adjust your budget to make sure that that's in there.
Yes, we
Because
will
it's going
definitely
to
have to look
continue
at
to
that.
rise.
I mean, all our lights are on sensors, so the lights shut down. The employees shut the lights off for the animals at night, so they have this, the ability to, know night and day, sometimes being locked up. But we, all our sensors, all our lights are on sensors, so most of the lights shut down at nighttime in the hallways and such, so it's pretty dark out there at night, except for the security lights.
Okay, well, I'd like to make an appointment, come out and see some of the puppies.
Anytime.
Yeah, okay, all right, thank you.
Went home with you too.
Yeah.
Oh, I got Tom.
Any more discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, motion carries. Moving down to B, Circuit Court, approval of a purchase order for Catholic Charities of Shiawassee.
Move it.
Genesee County.
Support.
It's been moved and supported. Do we have any discussion on this? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving to C, Probate Court, approval of modification number 1 of the agreement between Genesee County and Genesee Health Systems in amount not to exceed $60,000.
I move it.
Support.
Been moved and supported. Do we have any discussion? None? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving down to D, Sheriff's Department, approval of the purchase order, Pablo Hotel Supplies for the fiscal year ending 2022, not to exceed $152,190.89 to provide, purchase, and install of Champion model commercial dishwasher. So it's been moved. Do I have support?
Support.
And support. Okay, Commissioner Shoemaker.
I was going through the purchase agreements, and there's 2 separate sheets here. When you download them, it goes to that snapshot. One had 3 different bids from 3 different providers. One's 111, one's, I can't remember the other 2 numbers from there. But then when you go to the actual breakdown of labor, because I was trying to figure out what the total cost was, you see it's 124, I think it is, and then you've got labor of like $20-some thousand on there. And I wondered what the difference was between the 2 sheets, because one was, I thought, just for the machine, but when you get on actually the
Derek, can
actual
you come
bid,
up?
you're
Derek.
seeing,
And then you can finish that because his purchase director's coming up, and then also we have the undersheriff as well. Okay, go ahead, Commissioner Shoemaker.
Well, there's two sheets if you pull up, when you guys pull up the copy. One says, if I don't know if everybody sees it, the 111 and the other, and then when I go here, the total amount of this is, itemized value is sorry, I didn't bring my glasses, but it's 116, $772. So I wonder what the difference between the 111 was and then this, because this looks like all materials for the machine, which I have some questions on, some of these attachments or devices, whether they're needed, and then you've got the labor on top of it, separate, which I understand that's put out separately, but what's the difference? Why is one say 111 and why is the other one 126?
So are you looking at the lowest vendor's bid?
I'm looking at the lowest vendors.
So the lowest vendor's bid was just the dishwasher, and it did not include installation.
I understand that, but when I'm looking at this sheet right here, it's on here, which gives me, load selection, all the options I'm getting on the machine, which are all the cost here. I get up to 116 or 115. I'm sorry, I don't have my glasses on, but it's kind of blurry as it is. So I'm just wondering what the difference is between the two.
So that's the lowest responsive bidder?
That's the one included in the packet.
So the lowest responsive bidder, which was the one that is before you, again, the first one, the lowest vendor, I just want to make sure that this is understood, that the lowest vendor that did submit was just for the dishwasher and did not include the installation. We went with the next responsive vendor, and in that vendor's proposal initially, they had proposed to do the dishwasher along with the installation. Now, when we asked for, there were a couple of things that we asked for after the fact, because when the vendor came up, there was a specific component that we were interested in keeping the, helping in terms of the lifetime of the machine. One of the things is that it has a component that will automatically display when it needs to be cleaned. There's a specific area in the dishwasher that has to be cleaned on a regular basis. And it has a component that will allow to alert the sheriff's department as relates to it needs this annual cleaning. So there's a few maintenance things that were added that were not aware of initially, so that we can, it will help in terms of preserving the machine, and so it'll have a longer lifetime. Now, when we looked at the other vendor, which was the highest vendor, they also had those, we asked for those as, well, I had to call it out to see whether or not they had those things, and they were added as well. But in looking at the total package, which is the amount that is before you, there were a couple of add-ons that we did based on us not having that information initially.
So I'm seeing the 140 you're discussing here, which is the installation, and the other, and I'm seeing 152 to provide for the person's installation. Can somebody,
So Derek, can you talk about how you got from the 140 on the initial bid for Pueblo to the 152? And I think you kind of touched on that we did add a couple of things, the maintenance
Correct.
type stuff.
but they're not on here, what you
Right.
sent us in our packets.
Right.
See- One, I mean, $152,000 for a dishwasher. And I looked at it, I looked them up. I had another question, I want you to ask them if somebody can. Is this model discontinued? Because I don't want to have problems getting parts later on or anything else like that, because. Are we sure?
Yes.
Okay. I'd feel better if something in writing, I'm not gonna lie. Because I looked yesterday, I went through them. That's what I'm reading in a couple places. You can't believe everything you read on the internet, so I understand that. But here's a question is, did we check outside with someone else to see what it would cost to actually install it and go with the cheaper price for the 111? Because if you find somebody for 24 grand to fix it at your 111,000, you're at 130 something, you're saving a few $1,000. It's not a ton, but I know it's a headache for a few people, but this is not our money.
Well, and one thing is, the issue with that is that then you will have what I call the finger pointing game, whereas if something is not running correctly, you have the issue of the manufacturer saying, well, it was not installed correctly. And so the purpose of this is the reason that we wanted to do the full package is that so that when down the road, when we have any problems, we just have to call the one vendor in terms of getting any type of service, maintenance, any type of parts as relates to this particular washer. Because while we do have this particular brand, there are companies that will do the servicing, and this particular company, this particular brand has a larger range of companies that will maintenance. The nearest one is approximately, from my understanding, is like 3.2 miles away from here. So if the dishwasher goes down, in terms of getting it serviced, we have a vendor that's close by that will be able to service the actual dishwasher. If we look at some of these other companies, then they're looking at a longer downtime in terms of trying to get the dishwasher serviced. So we have to take all that into consideration. Like, we're looking at a situation now where we're at the end of the life of the current one. Well, now it's difficult to find, it's not working, but, finding the vendor to service it, finding the parts to get it, has become a difficulty. So when we're looking at this particular solution, we still have to look not just the initial purchase, but down the road in terms of when the sheriff department wants to have the machine maintenance. This particular manufacturer has a larger pool of individuals who can service the actual machine when it goes down.
Okay, I understand that with the machine. I still don't understand the labor side of it. But here, just a quick question is, how long do we expect this to, through the chair, how long do we expect this machine to last?
So the life expectancy on these particular machines are anywhere from like 15 to 20 years in terms of an actual machine.
Good.
I just had a few on these add-ons, and if you're looking at them, and if you guys have looked at your packet, you'll see the add-ons that you've got for like wash rinse selection. That's $34,000. I just wonder if these are some of the things we could actually do without, because I have all these fancy buttons on my dishwasher too, and I'm sure we all do. But I hit I hit run, the thing runs, and I've hit the same button the same time every time, and that's how I do my dishes. So I'm just wondering if we could cut down, here or there if it's something that's been considered, or if, like so many of these products that you purchase, this is just part of what it is, even though they list it separate. This is the way you have to buy
Well, yeah,
it,
I mean,
with the addition.
this is all the things as relates to, the specification that was requested for the washer itself.
Well, like I said, I'm just questioning. Wash, rinse, $34,000, there's, just little things like this, from there. Let me see what else I saw in there. Start, stop selection on both ends. It's obviously safety, load selection. I don't know which ones of all these. Pre-wash selection, whether, what you want to do. I mean, I'm sure there's some that are definitely needed if you guys went through it, but that was just one that stuck out to me is the rinse cycle, 34 grand.
The 32, are you referencing the 32,
It
231?
would be C4 foot wash, rinse. No, that's not it. Where was I at? I apologize. I don't have my glasses, but there's just each section on there. I'm just wondering, is it what you're telling me is it's all part of a package that basically it's the
For
way
the
the machine is built?
washer.
And then that's what I'm saying. And they just tell you, guess what, we're breaking it down, but this is the way you
And
have to
they're
take it
showing,
with
like,
all
the
this stuff.
itemized costs for
So you
all the
can't,
items.
what I should put it this way, can you take any of this off and buy it without any different selection of how
No,
you
so
want to
this
purchase
is-
it?
This is for this particular machine. If you look at the other ones, they just maybe gave you a lump sum, and then they gave you the cost and not necessarily itemized. This is what they're saying that with this brand, these are all the items for this. If there's anything that was optional, it would have optional buy it.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any more discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed, motion carries. Do we have any other business? Well, I just wanted to take this time to address something that was stated in our earlier meeting. The Friends of Burston is an organization that was actually started in 2009 when I was on the Flint City Council. It was during a time when Burston Fieldhouse was going to be mothballed by the city of Flint. At the time, I was on the city council along with Josh Freeman. And we actually decided to try to start an organization to be able to keep that story building open. Through perseverance and ingenuity, we were able to do that. We received a grant in 2016 after I was a volunteer director there for 7 years, where I did not receive any pay or anything. I was using my own money to keep that story building open. When we received the grant in 2016, I was then hired as executive director. From the inception of the Friends of Burston, Mr. Freeman has been the treasurer. He was the treasurer when we didn't have any money. And we've been very fortunate because in 2018, the Art, Education, and Enrichment Millage actually included the Friends of Burston in the millage language that the residents of Genesee County voted in. Anybody that has any questions or any concerns about any of the monies that we get, you can go right to our website and you can look up our audit. Every single dime that we get from Burston, I can account for it down to the very last penny. So anybody that has anything negative to say about what we do and how we do things at Burston, we receive no money from Genesee County. So I take it personal when people try to attack me or say that we're doing something that is inappropriate. You can go to the IRS and look up our 990s. It tells every dime that we get and where we get it from and what it's spent on. Taylor and Morgan is our auditors. They have been auditing us for the last 2 years, and they're getting ready to do our next audit for this year. So I do take that personal when people say that. As relates to me being available in evening meetings, I have talked with the chairman, and I know we have one, I think in April and in August, and I'm going to work to do that. At the health board meeting, I was very much considering it, possibly trying to do a couple of evening meetings, but because of some of the remarks that was made by some of the residents out there, I had second thoughts. After the meeting, I had to go into my office and I prayed on them, and I received an email from one of the residents that was here, and I said, after having time to reflect and pray on it, I'm going to maybe consider doing some evening meetings. But people need to watch what they say and how they say it, because words have action. So I just wanted to state that for the record, and with that, we're adjourned.